Bernardino.
And I'm here with Nathan Obodakwa. Good morning, Nathan.
Hello, good morning.
Hope you guys had a good weekend.
So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It happens. Well, but you can have a good Monday. That's the thing. You don't have to have a good weekend to have a good week. Yeah. So whether the weekend was, just move it,
Yeah.
I can tell lots of things you want to share.
I will share, Bernard.
Yes, so many things happening. Until something goes wrong, you wouldn't know how bad some systems are.
Yeah.
So sometimes you need to go through certain things to know that, wow, this doesn't actually work. Yes. And then you work to fix it.
I
know.
Like there's a dead body in the house next door.
I know.
And nobody's going to come and pick it up.
Yes. I mean, sometimes you have to encounter some of our systems in a raw way to know what's really at stake.
Yeah.
Because you make this call, this person says it's not me, you call this other person, it's not picking, and then you try. And sometimes when you try to do the right thing, you end up being the one that's okay. But since you called,
everything is on
sit in the house and wait for us and don't move until we come. So sometimes a lot of people decide, you know what, I won't do anything about it. I'll just
because you end up with more stress than
yes. But that's what citizenship is about. You see, if it was easy, then you wouldn't be the one to do it. So sometimes it's good to go through that. Because we have to build a country. That's the whole purpose.
Bernard, we have problems, though.
I know. That's why you are here to solve it.
Yeah, no, like we really have problems.
I know. I'll let you share it. I'll give you 5 unrivaled minutes to just explain the whole thing. But for now, let's enter the papers, Nathan.
The Daily Graphic.
Yeah.
Let's start with that. It says COVID-19 vaccination plan. Government estimates 295 million cedis for 20 million people.
Nice one.
Help comes to Alezuma Basic School after Daily Graphic publication on 20 years of sorry state. And Mahama moves motion to reopen case today.
All right, the Ghanaian Times COVID-19 update. Ghana's vaccination plan to cost $52 million. Also, free nationwide 1 million waste bin distribution project takes off in 5 MMDAs. Armed robbers attack and snatch MCE's official vehicle at gunpoint. 3rd police officer allegedly commits suicide in Tema. And NLA warns public against fraud and illegal mobile game.
The Daily Guide says, NAPO promises transparent oil revenue regime. I'm not for Supreme Court capping. That's according to Godfred Daming. NDC versus Jean Mensa, subpoena war breaks out. And don't blackmail judges. Plus, Zoom Lion starts free bin distribution.
The New Crusading Guide, a Japan deal. AG designate allays fears, says it was done in national interest. And that's Godfrey Dubois-Dame they're talking about. Zoomline begins distribution of free bins. NLA warns public against fake digital lottery platforms. Ghana Oil to cough up $15 million in a suit. And Nungwa Stool and Prestige Group signed partnership agreement.
The Daily Statesman says, clean a Japan deal in Ghana's interest. Godfred Yeboah-Dame assures. Having EC boss in witness box won't change 2020 election results. That's according to Gabriel Chidaku. NLA cautions Alpha Limited against illegal use of 590 digital code. And ET Mensa, Pa Kofi Ansong, others win big at Council of State elections.
The Finder, Ejapa and PDS deals are clean. Godfrey Dami provides concise and precise details. Databank's sterling 30-year track record is unmatched. COVID-19 deaths rise to 533 with 8,216 active cases. Majority Leader urges parties to help retain experienced MPs. 2020 presidential election petition, we will not bow to blackmail. Police in Isiama foil robbery attempt on EcoBank, and Professor George Bennett goes home. All of those headlines are on the front page of The Finder.
Okay, the BNFT says unstable inflation erodes minimum wage gains over last decade. Zoom Lion begins distribution of free bins under 1 million waste bin project. MPs want official cars, not car loans. Okay, and there's a feature that says COVID-19 and pandemic planning, how companies should respond, and adherence to COVID-19 safety protocols, law in Tamale and Sagnerigu.
The Chronicle. Whoa! Police officer blows himself up in Tema.
Are you serious?
Look at the thing, man. I said, whoa! Hey, Mini
Charlie.
Godfrey Dami demystifies a Japan deal.
You mean
They
they
actually
use
said "go."
Onomatopoeic.
Yes, an onomatopoeic word to describe. It's a "go." Police officer
Wow.
blows himself up in air.
Wow, interesting.
Charlie, chief
Dami-
advises
yes.
Yes, go for that.
Dami's story is big
Dami's
as well.
story is big. He demystifies the Ejapa deal after a 6-hour marathon cross-examination by Haruna Idrisu and inquisitorial colleagues. Hey.
Stop it.
Chief advises parents to show interest in academic progress of wards, and the NLA again cautions public to beware of fraudsters.
Let me take you online and give you a few more stories. Before that, do the Observer then.
Okay, the Ghanaian Observer says Ejapa royalties deal clean, says the Attorney General designate. Another cop dies by suicide. NLA cautions public. How Supreme Court upheld respondents' submission in the 2020 petition, and Zoomline begins distribution of 1 million free waste bins.
If I take you to citynewsroom.com, the lead story of Ferrata flies to US for treatment following complications after COVID recovery. Rerun of Council of State election in Western Region scheduled for today. Also, Sekendi Takrade Assembly to relocate traders from Market Circle for redevelopment, and tackling the public health risks associated with road traffic congestion. An article by Ni Latte Latte. Now, if you go to myjournalline.com, a couple of stories you haven't heard so far. Tributes pour in as prominent lawyer Kojo Bentienchil passes on. And learn to pray for your tongue. Haruna Idrisu advises Matthew Opoku Prempe. And police in Eziama foil robbery attack on EcoBank. That's a story that's making it in that website. We go to Star FM, the lead story. Election petition, Supreme Court to hear Mahama's motion to reopen case today. There's a very interesting story here from Takrady. You pushed my predecessor to his death. Secondly, Takrady Metropolitan Assembly boss to journalists. He's blaming media harassment. Then there's another one here. Ghana hit with $134 million judgment debt for cancelling GCGP's power agreement. So that's something to look out for. If you go to GNA, Oforiatta off to US for medical review. 3 perish in accident at Abosi Chofed Junction. And then if you go, I'm just giving a few stories. If you go to, for example, the Ghana report, 15 new deaths push COVID-19 total to 533. All right, that's not very good. And now we have 7,509 active cases. Death toll has crossed the $500 mark. And then the 500 mark. I don't regret taking Get Fund Scholarship. This is Matthew Opoku Prempe. A few more stories. Bill Gates says solving COVID-19 is easy compared to climate. This is BBC's lead story. There's a ray of hope on CNN. COVID-19 cases have declined sharply. These factors will determine how pandemic unfolds from here. So that's what they're saying. This is a global picture they're talking about. So whilst we're having serious issues here, it looks like in other places there are different portions of the curve. Let's start with Nathan and COVID.
Well, let's on the front page it says COVID-19 vaccination plan. Now the country has estimated to spend about 294.5 million, which is approximately $51.7 million to vaccinate the initial 20 million people. The summary budget covers operational costs for phase 1 of the 3-phase national vaccination deployment plan for COVID-19. Presenting highlights of the plan last Friday at a webinar in Accra, organized by the Center for Social Justice to create awareness of the NVDP, the program manager of the expanded program on immunization of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Kwame Amponsa Achiano, said an estimated $3 million would be spent, or an estimated $3, would be spent on each person to be vaccinated. He said the exercise would be in 3 phases. With the first phase constituting a segmented group of 20 million people, and the beneficiaries under the first phase would include health workers, people with known underlying health conditions, and security personnel.
That's more on COVID in the Ghanaian Times.
There's lots on COVID in the Ghanaian Times as well. And the center spread also has the same story. Ghana's vaccination plan will cost $52 million. And in this account, it also says, we hope to achieve 60% herd immunity among the population to restrict the spread of the virus. So that's what our goal is, to achieve herd immunity, 60% of the population to achieve that. And then it also does go into detail about those who will receive the vaccine. With the exception of pregnant women and children under 15, all others are the ones who will be targeted and will be eligible for vaccination. Hoping to commence mid-March and end in October. It will be done in 2 rounds, with each lasting at least 14 days. And then it goes ahead to list the places in which the vaccinations would be done. Also, 14 COVID-19 cases recorded in 11 schools in the Upper East region. And Ghana is recording new COVID-19 deaths, 15 more deaths within 24 hours, and bringing the total number of deaths to 533.
While we are talking about plans to vaccinate, Rwanda has begun vaccinating vulnerable against COVID-19. This story is on the East African's website. Rwanda has started its first phase of vaccination against COVID-19 with the limited 1,000 doses of the Moderna vaccine administered to high-risk groups, including frontline workers. The first and primary beneficiaries of the vaccine will get it for free, and then they give some details on there. You were given some breakdown of the new COVID cases. So just to go through this, we have 533 COVID cases, 15 more deaths, 101 more people are in severe condition, 33 in critical condition, and then we're talking about 718 new cases, and the total figure is now active 8,216 cases, and this is from February the 10th. There's also 241 new recoveries, and the total clinical recovery and discharge 67,087, and so far country has recorded 78,836 cases. Now, speaking about cases and high-profile issues, Ken Ofori-Atta has been flown to the United States of America for a review. This story is on all the websites. I don't know if the newspapers got it. It came in the night. It says that Finance Minister designate Ken Ofori-Atta has been flown or has traveled to the United States of America for further treatment following complications after recovering from COVID-19. This was announced in a statement issued by the Finance Ministry last night. That's Sunday, February the 14th. The statement added that the decision to fly the minister or the former minister was on the orders of his personal doctors. Here's a quote from the statement. After recovering from COVID-19 last December, Mr. Ofori-Atta has had medical complications which the doctors advise require further interventions not currently available in Ghana. The statement from the ministry said he's expected to be away for 2 weeks. Now, again, some background, he was scheduled to appear before the appointments committee on February 18. That would have been 3 days away from today. He's expected to be questioned on all the controversial issues. So there you have it. We have the full statement. It's a 3-paragraph statement, which was curiously wrongly dated. So it was dated 14 February 2020. I think 2020 is very big in people's minds. So when they write 20 something or 2020 follows. Okay, so away from COVID-19.
Well, if you go to page 16 of the Daily Graphic, it says Mahama moves motion to reopen case today. Now, lawyers for former President John Mahama, who is challenging the outcome of the 2020 presidential election, will today move a motion before the Supreme Court seeking permission to reopen his case. The motion is to facilitate the petitioner's quest to subpoena the chairperson of the EC, Mrs. Jean Adukwe-Mensah, to testify in the 2020 presidential election petition before the Apex Court. The former president's legal team, led by Mr. Chachu Chikata, will seek to convince the court that reopening the petitioner's case to pave the way for the EC chairperson to be subpoenaed would be in the court's interest of justice and fairness. And
so that's a big one. We'll be live from 9:30 from the court, bringing you that particular story. Now, as a Mampo MC attacked by robbers, do you have that story?
Yeah,
that story is
that
serious.
story is coming up as well.
Yeah.
Armed robbers attack and snatch MCE's official vehicle at gunpoint.
This is serious.
This is very serious. On the front page of the Ghanaian Times, but it's page 3 is where you can find details on the story. Sokore Mampong Municipal Chief Executive Ali Duseidu has been attacked and robbed of his official vehicle at gunpoint by suspected armed robbers, resulting in insecurity and fear among the residents. Now, this happened at about 11:15 p.m. on Friday at the Ejawusu Junction, when the MC was said to be returning from the Garden City University campus. According to a police source, 2 gun-wielding men stopped the MCE, attacked him, made away with his Toyota Hilux vehicle, and in the car he had his mobile handsets as well. So of course those are missing. The police have mounted a search for the suspects. So yeah,
this is really sad.
Serious.
Now, if you move to citinewsroom.com, there's a couple of stories there that are troubling. So there's one about a judgment debt, and that story is also on a few other websites, and it says that Ghana is hit or could be hit with a serious judgment debt following the cancellation of a particular contract. Now, that story is also on Star News. So let me just read that version quickly for you. It says, the International Court of Arbitration has awarded a cost of $134 million and an interest of $30 million against the government of Ghana over the cancellation of an emergency power agreement with GCGP Limited. Now, the contract was cancelled under the former Energy Minister Boachi Ejako as part of several other energy contracts cancelled by the MPP government on the basis that the country did not need those power agreements. The ruling by the International Court of Arbitration ordered the government of Ghana to pay the GPGC the full value of the early termination payment, together with mobilization, demobilization, and preservation and maintenance costs in the amount of $134 million, together with an interest from November 12, 2018 until the date of payment, accruing daily and compounded monthly at the rate of LIBOR for 6 months. Jesus Christo. So there's also an attached ruling, guys. This is very serious. This is very serious. So I don't know whether the finance minister will be questioned on this, but it's more the energy ministry as well. But to the extent that the energy minister nominee is new in that ministry, a lot of this will be targeted at those who were there previously. So that's something to keep an eye on. Let's come back to you. Anything else in the daily guide?
Well, if you go to the daily guide, page 9 says the Institute for Energy Security, IES, is projecting an increase in the price of fuel on the domestic market at the various pumps in the second pricing window of this month. A recent statement issued by IES, which disclosed this, said this was as a result of certain factors, including a 5.09% increase in the price of Brent crude, a 4.58% increase in the price of gas oil, a 4.82% increase in gasoline price, and 0.17% marginal appreciation of the local currency against the dollar.
You know, it's funny, these days the government doesn't announce this. Usually the think tanks that do the announcement. So it's almost like the fuel price increases are not even told. We are not even told. All we know is that you go and buy 200 and it doesn't fill your tank anymore. And you wonder what's going on. All right, Cookie, the finder.
Yeah, should we go to Parliament?
Why
and
not?
Vetting.
Yes.
Ejapa and PDS deals are clean. This is from the Attorney General Designate. Page 4 and 5 of the finder has this story. Okay. The Minister for Justice and Attorney General Designate, Mr. Godfred Yeboah-Dame, has diligently provided clear, concise, precise, and unambiguous details to demonstrate that nothing untoward was done in respect of two important transactions that generated a lot of public discourse. Backing his statements with documentary evidence, he stated that the private sector participation in the management of the Electricity Company of Ghana and Ejapa Gold Royalties, a transaction to monetize some of Ghana's gold royalties, is in the supreme interest of Ghana and not to the benefit of any individual. He said this when he appeared before Parliament's Appointment Committee for vetting on his nomination. Through the Minerals Income Investment Fund, the government set up Ejapa Royalties Limited to securitize Ghana's gold royalties. They plan to raise between $500 million and $750 million for the government on the Ghana and London stock exchanges. Parliament approved the deal, but we know what happened after that. The special prosecutor also got involved. That was Mr. Martin Amidou, who has since resigned from his post. So the article gives a lot of details about this.
It was a 6.5 hour.
Yeah,
and we have some very interesting things. So if you don't have time to listen to 6.5 hours of vetting, we have one slide that summarizes the vetting. So we have all the question areas he was asked, the top questions he was asked, who the top questioners were, and summarizing 6.5 hours into one slide. So go on to hashtag GH vetting for all of that online. Now, who's going to be vetted today? We have Esla Usu-Ekufu, Minister Designate for Digital and Communications, and we also have another minister going to be vetted, Dan Boche, Minister Designate for Local Government. So again, we're alternating between the Supreme Court and vetting for big one. Now I'm taking you to Takrady. Secondly, Takrady Assembly to relocate traders from Takrady Market Circle. This is a big story, guys. Secondly, Takrady Metropolitan Area Assembly will today begin the relocation of about 3,000 traders from the Takrady Market Circle to Ahimfie Hotel Temporal Market. The move, according to the Assembly, is to make way for the redevelopment of the 93-year-old Market Circle. The parts of the market were gutted by fire August 2020. The PRO for the Assembly, John Latte, in a Citi News interview, gave a breakdown of the plans for the relocation of traders. We will have up to 5 phases, and with each phase, we're going to make the site available for contractors to start working. And then they spoke about how long the project will take and other things.
If you go to page 11 of the Daily Guide, there's an update on the death of Abraham Tete. Now it says the Koforidua Magistrate Court A has remanded into police custody 2 suspects who were arrested last week in connection with the robbery incident that led to the death of Abraham Tete. The accused persons, Umaru Abubakar, 26, and Usmanu Abubakar, 25, were remanded for 2 weeks to reappear on February 26. The plea of the suspects was not taken by the court, and the prosecutor, Sergeant George Defia, urged the court to remand them to assist police to track and arrest the other accomplices at large.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this interesting headline on the front page of the Chronicle about the police officer who committed suicide in Tema. A senior police officer at the Tema Courts Unit, Deputy Superintendent of Police Divine Esiama, is the latest policeman to have committed suicide. This brings to 3 the number of police personnel involved in reported suicides within 14 days. On Saturday the 30th, so it goes on to list the other two.
So there are 3 in the 3 weeks. This
There are
is
3.
pretty serious.
The headline, though, this officer blows himself up. Well, with his firearm, that is what is allegedly, what happened, that he shot himself, committed suicide with his sidearm at his official residence, and Charlie.
Yeah, so the details are given.
The details are given.
Very quite gory. We had that
he-
story as well. We presented it on Citi News. It wasn't as dramatic.
Yep.
There are 2 deaths that I just thought I'll remind you of. Last week, former UG Vice Chancellor Professor George Bennett is dead, and this story came on Friday. He was 87 years old. A family spokesperson who confirmed the news to Graphic Online stated that funeral arrangements will be announced later. Then, if you go to Majo Online, tributes pour in for lawyer Kojo Benti Enchil as he passes on. This is quite a senior lawyer in the country. Tributes are pouring in for one of the country's prominent legal practitioners, Kojo Benti Enchil. Family sources who confirmed the death of the senior partner of Benti Enchil, Lecha and Ankoma, did not disclose the cause of death. He was 73 years old, and this was on the official Facebook page of the company Saturday evening, posting a tribute by Professor Victor Esian, his law school mate, during the 1980s in the USA. So 2 prominent Ghanaians died, one 84, the other 73. And I don't want to make any theory about the day they died, February 12 or whatever. But Tema ECG retrieves over 7 million as power theft payments. 7 million. The Tema Regional Electricity Company of Ghana, and this is citinewsroom.com, has over the past year recovered a total of 7.8 million Ghana cedis. The amount which has been paid to the ECG form part of a total estimate of 9.7 million that was stolen by customers through illegal connections. The PRO of ECG Tema, Sechiwa Mensah, told the GNA at Tema that the Revenue Protection and Loss Control Unit of the office was able to determine a loss of 10.8 gigawatts of energy, amounting to the total figure. The remaining amount of 1.8 million cedis was yet to be paid, as some customers had agreed a payment plan and terms over a specified period with the company. Charlie, 10 gigawatts of power being stolen. Now, she said the illegal connections of energy continued to be an issue for the operations of the company, adding that 12.6 meters of residential, non-residential, and special load customers were monitored between January and December last year. Out of the said meters monitored in the 7th district, 541 were discovered to have issues with illegal connections, including meter bypass, unauthorized service connections, and meter tampering. Charlie, people are doing things. The 7 districts under Tema, Tema North, Tema South, Nungua, Adan, Afienya, Pram Pram, and Krobo. Charlie, ECG, Tema, why are you doing that?
Well, if you go to the BNFT on page 3, they say unstable inflation erodes minimum wage gains over last decade.
Charlie.
So an analysis done by the BNFT shows that within the last decade, that's 2011 to 2020, unstable inflation rates have washed a chunk off, if not all, the minimum wage earned by average low-income earners in the country. Data gathered from the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations and the Ghana Statistical Service indicate that for 7 of the last 10 years, inflation has either taken more than half of all of the rates at which the minimum wage was increased. For example, in 2013, while the monthly minimum wage was increased to 141.48 cedis, which represents a 16.9% percentage point increase from the previous year, average inflation for the year was 11.6%, indicating that more than half of workers' average income was eaten up by price effects.
Charlie, that's what they call inflation. Inflation is damaging people. All right, thank you very much, Kukui. Thank you very much, Nathan. That's all we have time for the newspaper review. Coming up next is the Citi Business News. Stay with us.